Oh my goodness gracious. It's time for another episode of The Score. Hooray! This is Minnesota Woohoo! That's right. This is Minnesota Opera's podcast that is dedicated to talking about the issues happening in classical music, opera, pop culture, as seen from the perspective of three Black queer opera administrators. As always, I am one of your hosts, Rocky Jones, and I am here with my fabulous co-hosts, the wonderful Paige Reynolds. Iyawo, Inawale, how are you today?
Howdy.
Hi.
I am great.
Oh, good.
It's swell.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I'm doing swell. Surprisingly, we're not even going to talk about how cold it is. I was dismayed when I woke up this morning,
and
but
there was snow on the
doing
trees and snow on the ground, and
October 14th. I just want people to know that we're not in November or December.
Listen,
And
I
of
had
course-
to put some Beyonce on and turn it around.
And of course, the person you just heard the sultry, dulcet tones of Dr. Lee Bynum. Hello, Lee.
Hola, mi gente.
Okay, please go ahead and read this weather for Phil. I'm just gonna pass. I'm just gonna pass the mic to you, and
Pass
you
the
go
read like you used to.
I thought I'd go international this week. Yes, no.
International.
Did it work? Did not.
It
Oh,
worked.
with your tag, your phrase, your catchphrase.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it was good.
Oh, good.
I liked
It was good, but I thought you were gonna have more to say about this weather this morning.
No, I'm not talking about the weather.
Okay.
That's right. We're not going to dwell on negativity.
Yeah, you know what? We're not gonna give it the energy.
Yeah,
We're-
no.
no.
I'm pretending like it didn't happen.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
sounds good. Well, how was everyone's week?
Long. I felt like there were like 14 or 15 days in the week. This
Yeah.
time, TGIF.
I was walking to the bus on Wednesday and I was like, how has it only been 2 days in this week so far? Like it feels like it's been like 2 weeks. And just
Oh
the
my
fact
God.
that, like, not to harp on the weather, but that it was 80 degrees on Tuesday
Yes.
and now it's snowing.
Yes. Doesn't it sound apocalyptic to other people?
Apparently not. Apparently climate change is not a thing.
Well,
I feel like maybe we should all be a little more scared. Because I had on shorts on Tuesday,
Mhm.
and today I have on a knit hat. I have on a sweatshirt.
Mhm.
I have on sweatpants, and I was wearing a puffy jacket. It was cold and wet enough to have on Tims or something. I should have. I actually wished I had on some boots. So what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Like, why are people not scared? Why is everyone acting like this is cool?
Like, this is normal. Electing
Well-
officials that think this is normal.
I'm curious because, Paige, you grew up in a part of the country where the winters are quite intense, in my opinion.
Mhm.
How do you feel about snow this early?
Okay, snow, it's not like how early the snow is. Like I'm used to maybe occasionally getting a
Mhm.
sprinkle. Like it is,
Mhm.
it's not a huge event, and we understand that it's a day like this where like it's really cold at night or really cold in the morning, and so then it snows, there's precipitation that comes down as snow, and then it melts, and like you get scared and you just have the reminder that winter is coming.
Right.
What we're not used to is this temperamental stuff, this it being 80 and then it's snowing, and then it going back up to 70, and then it going back down to that's what we're not
Mhm.
used to. It's
Mhm.
like it used to be like a spurt, like here or there, like one abnormal day, and like You look back at weather records and you see that. You see that one random 85 day in the middle of October. But it's happening so much more frequently. That's the wild part. That's not normal. This is not normal.
It's not.
No.
It's not. And I feel like I can remember when the seasons were behaving differently. You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, if we had had an 80-degree day in October, and I mean, Virginia is certainly south of Minnesota, right? If we'd had an 80-degree day in October, people would have been really weirded out by it. And the fact that it was 80 degrees here, Minnesota, October 11th, and people were just kind of like, just going about their day as if there was nothing odd about it. I was like, I don't know, y'all. I'm not comfortable going outside. I feel like the asteroids are on their way.
A little apocalyptic to me.
Well, at least we have the technology to nudge asteroids. That's exciting. Just a little nudge. Excuse me. NASA said, excuse me.
Excuse me. That's funny. I didn't know that was a thing.
But I mean, like in DC, I feel like it's not unheard of for it to stay kind of summery and hot up until the middle of October.
That's gross.
Yeah, it is. But like this is just it's the roller coaster of it all.
Yeah.
It's the roller coaster of it all. And I remember when things here were different. I mean, I've been here for like 8 years.
Wow,
And I remember when I first
scary.
moved here, like there was a summer, a spring, a fall, a winter. It wasn't this it wasn't this like, up and down and sideways and back and forth. I don't know.
I feel like one day we need to have like a longer conversation about like what climate change means for the arts.
Yes.
What we are or not doing, how it is gonna impact us. Like, I don't know. That it's actually, now I think about it, it's kind of a big topic. That might be like a series. We might need like that might be a 3-parter. Yeah.
Ooh, I wonder who we know, who we could bring on to talk about that. Well, if that sounds like you and something you'd like to talk about, contact us at thescore@mnopera.org and let us know. So there's so many things going on in the world. Kanye's out here wilding out.
Yeah, y'all need to have a chat with y'all cousin.
I mean,
it's just so disappointing.
It's a lot. Disappointing is you say that I like to understate things.
Man, if you told me that the man who wrote All Falls Down was gonna come out here and wild out like this,
thank you.
Man.
Yeah. So that's happening. All sorts of shenanigans in the midterm elections, all sorts of
talking about Herschel Walker.
Young Mr. Christian.
that was also wild.
That was insane. That was crazy.
There is a sort of epic interview by Mark Lamont Hill of Christian Walker. Maybe it's about a year or so old. I can't remember when it came out, but it was at some point when we were doing the podcast, because I actually thought about making it a topic, and it was wild. Like some of the stuff that Christian was saying, and Dr. Hill was being like very generous in terms of like acknowledging you're a young person, I don't want to come at you like I could despite what you're saying. But the fact of putting that interview beside some of the things that his father has been saying, like the story about the bull and the 3 cows, like it's very strange it's strange, right? Like it's fully strange. And you just have to wonder, like, what kind of political moment are we in that there's this much stuff that's not disqualifying for people, right?
Well, I mean, I feel like we have asked that question in a number of contexts recently.
And yet it's not going anywhere.
And it's not going anywhere, and I feel like nobody's answering it. Or maybe
No,
just the answer is just that nothing is disqualifying.
there's the I had decided to take the January 6 hearings in smaller doses because I had a night with them where I got very worked up and just had to say, I need a little bit of a break from US politics for a minute. And then, Damien was very insistent that we watch them this week. And I actually had nightmares. Like there were so many things that I heard that were just so bothersome.
Yeah.
That were being normalized. I mean, even in the context of the hearings where they're like, hey, we're going to subpoena the former president. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, if this had been a movie from like 1996, like critics would have lampooned it for being too ridiculous to believe. And 1996 wasn't like a lifetime ago, right?
No, it's like a season of Scandal. It's like come to life. It's crazy.
Honestly, yeah. Like,
for real.
Yeah. Actually, I actually all along when things like Scandal came out, I was like, part of why we love this is because it's believable.
Yeah.
There's a certain there's ridiculousness, but there is also quite a bit of believable drama that we have either seen or like we know we're just on the horizon of. That's why Shonda's able to get away with this wild show.
Hopefully, friend of the pod, Shonda Rhimes. Hi.
Yeah.
Come through.
But yeah, it's been truly the word that I was gonna search for a word other than dystopian, but maybe dystopian is what I'm looking for. And to me, like I see it as like as to your question, Leah, like how we're in a moment where these are the choices and these are the people that we're having conversations about. I see it as connected to education, maybe like
factual.
that just this is the result of just like a lot of like messed up education systems and indoctrination. A lot of
40 years of divestment in the public education system.
There's like the divestment itself, and then there's like the intentional really like messed up white supremacist capitalist patriarchal all of that programming that then happens. And we know that there are layers to how deeply messed up our education system is on every level. But I think of like even people's fundamental like reading and like comprehension skills and listening skills, like empathy skills, social skills. How deeply connected that is to our education system, because we spend so much time there. Like, of course we would see that impacting the way people process what's going on politically. Like,
I mean, there was a clip that's been going around from the Wisconsin Senate debate that happened. Mandela Barnes over here running for the Democrats, and Senator Ron Johnson, who is, don't get me started, but there's this clip and it disturbed me so much because it was after all of this sort of back and forth, I guess I didn't watch the whole debate, but I'm assuming all this back and forth and whatnot, the moderators were just like, okay, this has been a really contentious evening. Last question. Can you just say one nice thing about each other? Just something that you admire about your opponent. Just one thing. Just one thing. And Mandela Barnes gets up there and he goes, yeah, I mean he's a family man. He seems to really love his spouse and his kids and his parents, and that's an admirable quality, the way he loves them and puts them first. Great, cool. And then okay, Senator Johnson, and he's like, he seems to be a really nice guy, great education, speaks so well. And it's just surprising with all that education, how much he hates America, and then starts just going. And the audience starts booing. You can see the moderators like putting their head in their hands, like, oh my God. And it was just so disturbing to watch, because it's exactly the word, dystopian.
Mhm.
It's just like what's that movie, the Mike Judge movie, Idiocracy?
Oh yeah.
It just feels like we're just living in the middle of this, and and I just don't know what to do.
I mean, we got to get away from these earthlings.
Maybe I'll go on that rocket that nudged the asteroid. Maybe I'll volunteer to go nudge.
Something.
But one thing that, being the classical music podcast that we are, that we have been remiss in talking about for several weeks now. I was actually about to make a joke about it when Garrett was on the show, because he mentioned something about trying the flute, and I was like, don't try the flute, y'all. Because one of our faves, Miss Lizzo, queen, amazing singer, artist, musician, flautist,
yes,
went to the Library of Congress in my good old hometown of Washington, D.C., and was, shown a collection of, not ancient flutes, but historical flutes. Flutes with historical import. I was like, what's the word for like old but not that old? It's been a long week, y'all. I'm sorry. But historical flutes, one of which was a crystal flute owned by the fourth president of the United States of America, Mr. James Madison. And she played the flute. She played the flute later on at her show. And it was a lovely little moment. It was cute. It was just like, oh, what a cute little piece of history. Apparently not, according to some corners of the internet. And I was just baffled by this. I never even thought in a million years. I just thought like, oh, this is a cute little stunt that the Library of Congress is putting on, and what a nice little moment between Lizzo and I don't know, what is her title, the librarian in chief, the head
maybe chief. Yeah,
chief librarian.
Chief librarian, maybe.
Yeah, she's a Black woman. These two Black women coming together. This. It's a nice little moment. But apparently, it has led to the end of democracy as we know it.
It's at least as bad as that whole storming the Capitol thing, right?
Apparently,
just it was. I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in the position of finding something, anything wrong with what happened, and I can't imagine. I I legitimately, like, I saw it. I had the exact same thought process that you did, Rocky. I was like, this is cute. Great. Moved on with my day. And I assumed everyone else was going to do the same thing. And I was so wrong. I was so wrong. People were upset. It seemed about whether or not Lizzo was qualified to play this flute, I guess.
Which is such a strange.
Oh
my God.
So weird. The fact that she played the flute at her show wearing a dance costume was apparently a problem because she was showing her body, I guess. And of course, if Lizzo is ever showing her body in public, then we have to have a conversation about that, apparently.
They saw her play it at the concert, and she just let out one little note, and they assume that she can't really play flute, or that she doesn't know how for real, when we have plenty of video evidence that that's not true.
All over the place.
Also, it immediately, anyone with sense would have seen that and said, yeah, that makes sense, because it is a crystal flute that belonged to a U.S. president. No, you think she's gonna just take it and break into choreography with the big girls? No. They were like, take one, let out one breath, one note, and give it back. I understood that immediately, but I guess other people didn't.
There were like 25 different things about it that disturbed me, like kind of deeply, including the fact that most of the people complaining couldn't tell you anything about who James Madison was, right? They'd go full Keke Palmer, sorry to this man, right? Like, just no idea about who he was, what number president, if he was president, is he on the $2 bill? Like the whole line of complaint was ridiculous on its face. And then kind of like moving on from that, the number of false equivalencies between Lizzo playing the flute and any number of other things, like the way whataboutisms kind of play out in our current political divide, that was very strange to me, that this seemed like it could be equated with anything else that is like actually happening. And then the fact that Candace Owens never seems to have anything productive to do with her time, like ever. Like I legitimately don't understand what the situation is, that like anytime somebody Black is doing something that looks fun or interesting, that her immediate response is to sort of degrade them as about anything that she can think about. Like I really don't get it.
I mean, ma'am, first of all, go get yourself a bottle of lotion, and then you can come talk to anyone about anything. But yeah,
not lotion, a butter. Something with butter in the title.
I mean, and of course she's a part of the Kanye story as well. Oh my God. I don't have words, because it fills me with so much just like sadness, but also just like rage at the same time, that it's just like, I don't feel like anything that I could say would be productive, which perhaps we don't need right now. Perhaps this is just the moment to just be angry. But it's just like, and obviously, like, her con artistry has been well documented, alleged. So it's just like, I don't even understand like why people are listening to her at all, other than like,
the obvious reasons.
Her and Christian Walker and all those folks that get up there, and now Kanye apparently, and just tear us down for sport.
You know, they say what actually brought about the end of the Roman Empire was lead poisoning because the water going through those, aqueducts was, the aqueducts were iron and rusty apparently. And then a lot of folks got lead poisoning perhaps. Like I don't 100% know, I wasn't there. But a lot of people apparently started behaving erratically in the last several decades of the empire, including um, the whole leadership apparatus, right? It I sometimes wonder, is it something in the air? Is it something in the water? Something in the food? Because a lot of people, it's like our relationship to rational thought has sort of just fallen apart. Like I don't know.
I
Like
It's
mean,
been
I'm clearly
feeling off
grasping, but
kilter. Off kilter.
I mean,
I feel like
systemically
maybe, but
though,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
I
not like a person or two here or there. It seems
No.
like
Mm-mm.
maybe most people.
On a collective level, I often, after not long after leaving my house, even when I'm outside and just with people and observing behavior and things, I often say to myself out loud, is everyone okay?
Yeah, yeah,
Is everyone okay? Are we okay? And I keep asking because I think we're not.
yeah.
I just don't think we are. It's felt off kilter since they let us all back outside.
I mean, I think that's part of it,
Yeah.
certainly. I think for a lot of folks, it is sort of the capitalism of it all and just sort of
Mm.
finding ways to just sort of hypnotize people and take their money, which is all how do you speak with asterisk? F News. That network. That's all that is. Like, do you hate black people and have gold that you'd like to sell? But yeah, no, I mean, we went to the Costco last Sunday, my husband and I, and it was insane. Just the way that people just sort of had no regard for the other people around them, like the number of
Mm.
people that just like walked out in front of our cart. Like while we were just like fully just pushing it down the aisle, or who were just like literally there was one moment where these two ladies were just blocking the entrance of the aisle and could not figure it was I felt like I was like playing The Sims and like these two Sims were like in a room with no door. Just like meet mop, move meet move mop. And we were just like, excuse me. And they just could not figure out. And I'm just like, is the simulation glitching? What's going on? Like it was so weird. It was so weird. But just sort of getting back to Lizzo, like the comment that I saw that really, and it was by a conservative commentator that I will not name because I do not want any of their people coming after us, child,
No, ma'am.
because I don't have time. But essentially, they said that like Lizzo is like a weird fat sex pervert who wears no clothes and twerks and how dare this weirdo was the word that they used. How dare this weirdo be allowed to touch this incredibly important flute that I guess signed the Declaration of Independence and parted the seas. And it was just like it was so crazy. Like just like reading that, it's just like how do you possibly get to that point
Yeah.
where that's a thought that comes into your head and you're not like, am I high?
Right.
And then you put it down on Twitter and then you have thousands of people going like, yeah, 100%. I totally, that's a thing. Like, what?
Some really like, that's some vintage brand racism right
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
To just like straight up being like, Black women are weird and perverse.
And
Just
Right.
saying it with your whole chest.
with your whole
with
chest.
your whole chest. Like you're a European conquistador visiting the Congo for the first time or something, like, and you're writing this in your journal about your travels. This is vintage racism.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Like the
Yeah.
LA city councilwoman who was caught on tape. Did y'all see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I mean, that is just like
Yep.
right there. Just like
Yep.
unvarnished.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I mean, it's just crazy.
They're
It's
really
so
reaching back.
crazy.
And people don't even have sense enough to be ashamed of themselves
At
anymore,
all.
right?
She was just, I'm not resigning. What? Until finally the president had to be like, I think you should resign.
Everyone in the room was just kind of been like, who gonna check me, boo?
Yeah,
I said it.
I mean, we literally have to have a whole congressional hearing about whether or not people attacking the Capitol, trying to overthrow the government, first of all, happened, and secondly, was inappropriate. Like, this is the activity that we're in right now, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not that old, but I've lived long enough to know that there's something completely strange happening in this country, and people in other countries must be watching us being like, ooh, child.
Oh, they
Right?
are. Go
like-
on TikTok. It's wild.
Yeah. Let me tell y'all, to our international listeners, if it seems like it's weird over here, it is.
It is.
And it's weird to us too.
Yeah. Also, can we also back to the Lizzo and the flute, the crystal flute, which sounds like a really cool children's story, actually.
That actually does sound amazing.
Free idea for someone who is an illustrator out there.
Absolutely.
Copyright.
Wasn't James Madison a slave owner?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
1000%.
what? What? Okay, you understand why I just had to this is a foundational fact to this story, to me,
Yes.
and the outrage, and probably
Yes.
if not my first, definitely my second thought when I heard that there was any outrage at all
Mhm.
about what happened. I think in my head I went, over this slave owner's flute? Like, I know it's history. But
That apparently was a gift that he never even played.
so
So
history though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we're all just looking at each other, just dumbfounded. My God. Can everyone just calm down?
No.
Can I just make that request?
It's clearly going to get much more complicated in these next 2 weeks as we career towards the election. I feel like things are just going to get way more strange and uncomfortable and unpleasant.
I mean, just these attack ads on TV that are just constant. This new one that's like,
Really?
Keith Ellison, the criminal's choice for Attorney General. It's just like, whoa.
Can I just say, as a person coming from New York, how strange political ads are to me, period?
Mhm.
Because in New York City, it wasn't like our races. I mean, everybody knew, right?
Mhm.
So I don't remember seeing political ads, and maybe folks who are living in the suburbs or living upstate got them all the time, but I don't remember seeing them. So now being here, and then they come on and they're like, everything's all sinister. And it's like, whoa. No wonder people don't want to vote. Like, it doesn't feel good because they are
No.
constant. Like, it's all the time. I'm never living in a swing state again.
It's a lot. It's
Right,
a lot.
welcome.
Welcome. You're welcome to it.
Yeah. Actually, now that you think about it, I never even considered that, because I think growing up that felt like a norm to kind of see ads that were, more on the aggressive side, but also, swing state. So,
No, and I remember when we were kids in Virginia, there was a lot of that. But I guess I
grew up
don't
in a different
remember
part of the state than
feelings.
you.
Oh.
And it was way more Republican. So we weren't even getting the ads to that level because the Republican was just going to win.
Got you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Does it?
Well, I mean, in theory. But no, I mean, like, there's just this one that, like, Dennis and I just make fun of all the time. Like, we told Angie Craig not to vote for this, but she didn't listen.
Have you seen this one with, and I don't know the name of the candidate because I don't need to learn her name, but she's talking about in the commercial, it's like, this candidate says, I'm the election denier in chief.
Yes.
I'm like, are people out there hearing that thinking that sounds cute? I guess the answer is yes.
Apparently, right? But and no endorsement or anything of any of the candidates.
I literally just want to know is that
but what's
selling point.
But what's so funny about that one in particular is that I saw something where, like, they cut to the full context of that particular speech, and she was like, people call me the election denier in chief, and it's so stupid. That's not what I think at all. And it's like, she calls herself the election denier in chief. Like, literally, it's from the snippet of her going like, isn't that so stupid?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope everyone out there stay safe, stay sane. It's a wild time to be alive. And if you want to play the flute, play the flute.
But those asteroids are looking better every day.
And play it in your underwear, play it, do whatever you want. Good God.
Please do whatever you want. And if you are a little uptight about who plays what instruments and where and why and what they're wearing while they're doing it, maybe just relax.
Relax.
Maybe just relax.
Make a
maybe
nice
let
hot
people
cup of
enjoy
tea.
things. Let people have fun, because
yes.
This is also, if you love these instruments so much, like, and you want to preserve these things, maybe, just maybe, making them fun will actually help them stick around. Maybe
imagine
just
that.
Maybe
Imagine that.
it would help, like, younger generations be interested in things like history or visiting a Smithsonian or something like that. Just maybe. So maybe, like, just calm down.
Yeah.
Let people have fun.
Yeah. Maybe, take a walk. I know it's cliche. Touch some grass.
But it helps. It does.
Get a massage. Anyway. But speaking of amazing Minnesota musicians, we have one, Minnesota artists, rather. We have one coming up today on the show, the incredible Imagine Joy. We are so lucky that they were able to join us and just talk about their practice, talk about their art, and hopefully it'll be a nice, deep, calm, cleansing breath, because I know that I came away from that conversation feeling a lot better than I did going in. So everyone stay tuned. Imagine Joy right after the break.
Woohoo!
All right, welcome back, Scorekeepers. I am so excited for today's special guest interview, a person that I greatly admire and am blessed to call a friend. But first, let me run down their bio, their accolades, before you get to hear from them directly. Born and raised in the South Side of Chicago, shout out Demetrius McClendon, who is also known as Imagine Joy, began dancing with street hip hop at the age of 15 and has traveled nationally and internationally as a dancer, teacher, and choreographer, sharing their passion for the arts. Since graduating from Northern Illinois University in 2011, they have danced professionally with Dance Work Chicago, To Dance, Owen Cox Dance Group, and as a guest artist with Lyric Opera of Chicago, Twin Cities Ballet, Deeply Rooted Dance Theater, and Minnesota Opera, among numerous other companies. As a community organizer and facilitator that believes wholeheartedly in the power of radical imagination, political education, and spiritual practice, they co-create with others to build experiences that heal and empower BIPOC and queer communities. That is a lovely bio, but from what I know of Imagine Joy, like they are also just, I'm just going to say, overall Black queer magic maker. Like, welcome to
the show.
Thank you for the introduction and the way you read my bio. I need my bio read like that every single time. That energy.
I am flattered because you're not the first person to say that on this show. And I'm like, listen, if y'all want to put me on payroll, I will gladly just, tell me where to show up, where and when. I'll even like blow a little trumpet as you enter the room and just read off your accolades. So, Imagine Joy, what's been up? I recently saw you in Impact Theory of Mass Extinction at In the Heart of the Beast Puppet and Mask Theater. Ooh, I think I may have got to talk to you a little bit about how that performance impacted me, but it was just absolutely gorgeous and so affirming to my Black queer inner child. I just thank you and everyone involved. And that's really like one of the few maybe pieces I've attended live over the past couple years, just with everything going on in the world, multiple crises and all kinds of stuff going on. But I wonder like what the past couple years have been like for you as an artist, given a pandemic, given all the things that have happened locally, the ones that made national news, like the murder of George Floyd, or the things that did not, but that, were impacting us here nonetheless. Like, what kind of journey has it taken you on artistically? Where have you been and where you at now?
Oh my goodness, it's been quite the journey. I will say, so I think of myself as an artist, and my main medium is dance. So when dance shut down, because the theater shut down for a while, quite a long time, in the beginning of the pandemic, I was so fueled and focused on community that my artistic practice from dance just kind of translated and shifted to community work. I mean, I was already doing community work, but it became more full time. And because there was so much going on and so much to navigate, I was so deeply steeped inside of my artistic energy being utilized and engaged to heal and empower community that I didn't realize I wasn't dancing anymore. But after a while, I mean, because dance for me is such a visceral and embodied experience, it got really hard. So I was still moving, but we're used to dancing 8 hours a day on top of doing your own personal practice, it got to a point where I realized movement is needed and necessary for my well-being. And it got really rough, actually. Not only not moving, but also performing, because performing to me is not just about me sharing, it's also about me receiving. There's a relationship between myself and the audience that I am just very accustomed to experiencing. And I noticed that it sources like some profound healing for me to have that type of outlet. So it was really rough at certain points. There were opportunities to dance, but then certain requirements that's a different conversation I don't want to get on right now, but I just was not able to dance. So I was really delighted to perform for the first time in a pandemic. Excuse me, let me be clear. I performed with Alana. Actually, I think, did we perform together?
We did.
Okay, yeah. Alana's Black Light Research, that was a part of my artistic path during the pandemic. Although that to me was very spiritual. So I didn't think of it as dance in the traditional sense that I'm used to dancing, but I did perform that. But doing Janada's play, I can't speak enough about how intentional, how loving, how healing, how pleasurable that experience was, because the process that was curated by our director, which was Harry Waters.
Shout out to Harry. Love him.
Shout out to Harry. He is really about that live. I felt like it came to me at a point in time where I really needed it. I was experiencing depression and just all of the stuff that happened in the pandemic. It just kind of got, because I was flying high for the first 2 years of the pandemic. That was a great time for me to slow down, to get paid to stay in my house. That was great for me personally, although I knew that the world was, unraveling. For me personally, that was great. But then it all hit me. And then that play came along and just was like, oh, Janada conjured that play, that writing, that Black queer experience for all of us, I think, to feel and to enjoy the gift of feeling. Mm-hmm. A lot of pleasure, too. It was a lot of pleasure.
Yeah, I definitely got that as the audience member. It was just so special and and emotional, but in like a endearing way, like in a heart opening kind of way. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the thing that you were describing about artists feeling disconnected from their practice during parts of the pandemic, especially those of us who do the kind of art that we need to be in front of other people or in community with other people when we produce it, was something I heard a lot from friends, from my husband, from myself at times. And, it gets me thinking about how dance is special and unique in a lot of ways. And I think you might be the first person from the dance space we've had on the show. So I would love it if you could say a few words for our audience about maybe how your identity and other experiences inform your praxis as a dancer.
I will say this first and foremost, I'm a yogi. So I would hope that it's translating into my everyday life, me learning how to be more physically aligned. That's why we stand at the ballet bar every single day, working on our spine, being as upright and free and liberated as possible. I do my best to bring those thoughts and ideas to my everyday life. When you're working on balance from the right to my left side, I do the same thing in my personal life. How am I bringing this type of passion for balance and clarity and light and a lightheartedness? How do I bring that into my everyday life? Like, that's my challenge, and I think I'm very grateful for a variety of different practices that allow me to kind of synthesize and put these things into context. And one of those things is writing. Writing really helps me to kind of keep track of all the places that I touch and experience. Because sometimes when you're dancing and you tap into these places, I think it's very similar to some of my spiritual practice, you go into these zones, you go into these different realms where you experience it like a multitude of self. And I'm always thinking about how do I translate this? Because it won't make sense if I just state this to someone who has never had that experience. So I think that's my role and my task as an artist.
Thank you for that.
Well, so I'm curious. As I was doing some research about you and your work, I noticed on your Instagram that you have a lot of really amazing quotes and just wise words from like incredible folks like Bell Hooks. But Audre Lorde is great as well. But Bell Hooks specifically. And of course, great artists. Like I love this one post that you did where you were talking about Mariah Carey's Butterfly. And we were just talking about that album very recently and how it was a big deal for all of us on its 25th anniversary. And so I was just curious about like other mentors, like who else has sort of inspired you? Who has, who are the people who have come before you who have really served to sort of inspire you in your practice and your art?
Oh, that's such a good question. I call myself a Black feminist baby. And when I say that, I'm saying that Black feminism rebirthed me. It helped me understand that who and what I was much bigger than what I was allowing and what I understood myself to be based on patriarchal conditioning, which we all experience here.
Oh yes.
So some of the people, there's so many people, but in particular, I would always quote Bell Hooks. I used to call myself a Bell Hooks whore. I'm a child of the Lord, Audre Lorde. She is someone that I call on almost every single day and just reread her writings. Let's see, Toni K. Bambara. I've recently gotten into her words, and I can go down a list, but Alexis Pauline Gumbs is someone who I've been working with lately. She has so much work on breath, on engaging and utilizing the breath as a tool and pathway towards understanding, perceiving, relating, being, and becoming. It all goes through the breath, which connects to my yoga practices as well. And when you do this in a way that is connected to an understanding that we are constantly trying to expand, not just for ourselves, but because we want to be aware of the energy that we're putting into a universe through which we are all relating and experiencing this thing called life. So the question becomes, how do I honor these people they put love into those words. They put healing into those words. So when I think about what came before me, I'm always astounded, like, oh my goodness, knowing what they went through and was still able to produce those things. But it just makes me think about what I'm putting forward for the next generation of artists coming. So I'm always thinking about that circularity of past, present, future, and where I'm falling in line. Excuse me.
That's beautiful.
Beautiful. Alexis Pauline Gumbs. Woo, her work. Fire. I am a fan. Let's talk about her more offline. So also you mentioned Toni K. Bambara, and it made me immediately think of her words. It is the role of the artist to make the revolution irresistible.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have
then
that
made
on
me
a t-shirt.
think of, all right, so do I. Shout out to Art Equity.
Yes.
They know how to pick a good quote. Yes,
They sure
do. But it also made me think of your work as an organizer and how I think it is not repeated enough that like artists are often at the front of revolutionary changes, of major, societal shifts. It is often our artists, our cultural keepers that are making that happen. So can you talk to us about, your life as an organizer, and what does that look like, especially married with, your artistic practice? And maybe your yoga practice too, and all the other things that, you just so elegantly said inform, your being in the world.
Yes. So I'm going to start here. It's interesting. I went to school for Black Studies and LGBT Studies. My major was dance, but my minors were they were chosen specifically because at that time, I think I can't remember how old I was when I first read the autobiography of Malcolm X. But that book changed me. That book changed me. I also had a professor, his name was Mr. Muhammad Abdullah in high school. He was my African American history teacher. And one thing I remember about him, he never taught by the syllabus. He did not teach us traditionally. If the school knew what he was telling us behind his doors, they probably would have, I'm trying to think of not a cuss word, excuse me. They would not have been pleasant. He was telling us. But that man unlocked some doors within me. And when I went to college and I was like, oh, there's a program here where I can study more and actually I'm obsessed with books, y'all. I love books. But go to a library and read all these books and start to see this history. And after I graduated from college, and I knew I wanted to focus on dance because you only have so much time to dance with it. That's what they tell you anyway. So I kept telling myself I would put my activism on the back burner. I would put it on the back burner. I would always, dance and do all these things, but I wanted to focus very specifically on my body at the time. But things kept happening where I was like, no, you can't wait. Why would I want to wait? Why would I want to separate these components of myself when I could actually be using my art to make these statements anyway? I can actually be using my art in a more powerful way to bring my creative energy and the ways more my genius could come forward, because I'm not a policy making person. That is not my genius. But I can facilitate. I can lead you through breath work. I can lead you through movement. I can help you feel good in your body. I can talk to you about diet, exercise, nutrition. Like, I started to learn that my activism could take a different shape, and that these aspects of myself would be a part of how I'm going to be responsible in the matrix. And it was meeting people like Signy. And I met her actually at a Black Lives Matter. I was briefly a part of Black Lives Matters. And I remember being there and thinking, oh, how are we going to focus on us? Because I felt like so much of the energy that I was experiencing in a lot of protests was like, how do we get these people to see us differently? I'm like, no, that's not my focus. That's not where I want to go. And when I met Signy and she was telling me about something called the Million Artist Movement and these power gatherings where people are coming together to create art and to bring their artistic energy to the fight, it resonated with me differently. And I knew right then and there that I had to do this now. And since then, I've been in the mix of it, because there's so much going on. You always get pulled in because I hang with amazing people who are just really diligent about making the world a better place.
Ashe, yes. Million Artist Movement has been the same to me too. I think that is where we met, I'm sure. It's through Million Artist Movement. And yeah, just having that crew of folks that are currently pushing me to think about art and liberation differently is a blessing for sure.
That gets me thinking about something that Paige read in your bio at the beginning that I jotted down. This idea of radical imagination, right? Because I feel like one of the peculiarities of being Black in America, and certainly being Black and queer in America, is that real life can be so heavy that sometimes you don't feel like you have space to imagine. And then there are other times that your imagining is kind of the only thing that gets you through, right? And I would love if you could talk a little bit about what radical imagination means for you and how it shows up in your work and in your life.
Oh, that's such a great question. That brings me back to something Bell Hooks used to say. By the way, she has this series on YouTube at the New School that I've watched like 10 to 12 times.
Yes.
But she would always say, we can't create what we can't imagine. We can't create what we can't imagine. And it also makes me think about Robin D.G. Kelly, who wrote a book called Freedom Dreams. And he talks about Black radical imagination, how, you know, we put so much energy into what we want to knock down, but we never think about what's going to be there and what's going to happen after we knock those things down. So how do you start to put more, invest more of your energy into imagining the possibilities beyond? And, you know, for me, being very, very spiritual, I think that imagination is allowing myself to go to a place that is beyond the physical. It is allowing me to understand that we are ebbs and flows of energy, and that, you know, we can get really stuck when we only think about things in one way. You know, we are taught and conditioned from birth that A plus B equals C. That's the only thing we know. So if that reality though is not affirming us in any way, how can we move beyond it if we can't imagine or at least put our energy elsewhere? So I think that for me, radical imagination means allowing myself to nourish the possibilities within myself and within the world, if we only choose to think beyond, to dare to imagine. Like I keep thinking about those words, to dare to imagine. Like that to me is a place of possibility.
Thank you. I love that.
Well, that makes me curious. You know, what do you imagine when you imagine that the possibilities that are beyond? I mean, I'm assuming you imagine joy. See what I did there? But sorry, I'm so sorry. But no, seriously, I'm curious. You know, when you imagine that someday, what does that look like?
I think you went out for like 30 seconds.
Oh, sure. Oh, did you hear? You didn't hear my terrible joke? Oh, good. No, I was just asking, you know, when you were talking about, you know, imagining, you know, the places beyond, what do you personally imagine when you imagine, you know, those possibilities?
Oh, you know, okay, so here's another thing about me. I grew up Jehovah's Witness. And it's a very particular way of thinking and moving and navigating the world. And they believe in this thing called paradise. And so when I imagine beyond, I imagine a type of paradise, not where there are no conflicts, but where there are ways to help us engage our conflict. To me, I think that so much of our issues comes because we don't confront. We don't meaningfully confront the things that are attempting to pull us down. So when I imagine a space beyond, I imagine this vehicle. I imagine vehicles where we can. Ooh, excuse me. I'm thinking right now, and I'm traveling at the same time. So, okay. I don't know. I imagine places where we are allowing energy to move. And when I think about this, of course, that makes me think about all of the things that will be anchoring. I think of joy as an anchor. So I'm imagining people out in the streets, in nature. I imagine us having a different relationship with the earth. I imagine us actually respecting and valuing the things that came before us, and recognizing that we are all a part of this big cosmic system. I don't know. I imagine the stars, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I imagine outer space. I imagine green. I don't know. That's coming up in my spirit right now. And actually, I imagine abolition, which is all of those things to me.
Yes. I love that. I thought of you saying stars reminded me of one of our faves, Octavia Butler.
Yes.
Earthseed, yes. Take it to the stars, indeed. So I also, you know, swinging that imagination in a different direction. I would love if you talked about, the experiences that you've had with opera, as we read your bio. There were a few things, in there, some places where you may have been a guest artist. And, I wonder what those experiences were like for you and what are the possibilities that you see within opera?
Ooh. Yes, I will say this. My first opera company I worked with was Lyric Opera of Chicago. And it's a pretty good company, big
Sure
company in
is.
Chicago. And
I've heard
my
good
first, my first thought, or the first thing I think about with Lyric Opera when I got there was just one, we got paid pretty nicely. And the sad reality is that most times in dance, especially concert dance, you don't make a lot of money. So it was beautiful to be part of a union. I learned, I got to visibly experience being a part of a union for the first time, where we had designated breaks. Like, oh, I actually deserve a break, and I actually can't, because you can't work on those breaks. You literally can't work on those breaks. For me, that was. It really shifted the way I thought about dance, and it made me demand more when I left the opera companies and started to work back in concert dance. Because I'm like, oh, we don't have to work like this, and actually, I'm going to give you a better production and more creativity if you allow me 5 minutes to rest or use the bathroom, please. But the beautiful part about working with the opera was working with the live music. I mean, when you have the orchestra playing behind you, my goodness, it's a powerful force. You hear these voices coming together and making these harmonies, and because you're dancing, you're literally inside of it. And I'm going to be very honest, I didn't care for opera before I got into opera. Well, I was going to say I didn't care for, I didn't know opera, so I didn't have a true opinion about it. But being able to be inside of and being able to talk to the artists and hear their experiences and how they were embodying these characters through their voice. And being able to understand that voice is this powerful vehicle through which people are engaging energy. Because I do mine through the body, but with voice, it's a very different way of experiencing creativity. It taught me a lot, just as a dancer, and how I wanted to deepen my understanding of it as an artist. I can't remember the second part of that question, but yes, opera. I dig it now. I do.
That's beautiful. I had also asked, any possibilities you see within opera.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, I do, and we need more Black stories. We need. I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we need more. To be very honest, I do know there was an opera company in Chicago. I can't remember the name of it. It was a Black opera company, and unfortunately, I never got the chance to really work with them. But I do know that they were reworking some classical works, and I just feel like that's such a tricky place. So when I say we need new works created for us by us, with our liberation and healing in mind, I really mean that, because I don't think that those old things that we're bringing back, I don't know if the juice is there personally. The juice that I want to drink anyway.
Well, you are on the right show.
Yeah, we share some similar sentiments.
Oh, one more thing. I want to see more different variations and expressions of gender. That I haven't seen that. I have not seen
Come on
that.
now.
Yeah.
Well, Imagine Joy, we are just about at our time together, but I wanted to make sure that if there's anything coming up that you're working on, what is coming up for Imagine Joy in the future?
What is coming up? Look, this future thing. It's interesting. For the most part, thankfully, I never get anxious about the future, because I'm doing way too much most of the time anyway, but I'm usually very invested in the present. But this year has really just allowed me to think forward a little bit. I am 33 right now too, so I have, I've been a lifetime of F the system of capitalism and all these different things. But now I'm like, oh, you do have to have a stable financial framework. Otherwise, I like to eat. I like to eat good food. I like to eat.
I like to eat. I like to look cute.
Yeah. I
know. No, that's expensive.
I've been mostly focused on kind of just grounding myself so that I can make some different financial ventures in the future. So as far as our artistic practices go, I do have a couple of performances. I'm performing with Athletico in November. And in January, I'm doing something with Ash Sweeney called The Invisible Cities at the Oceansea, I believe. And I'm still a part of the project. It's an ongoing project with Alana called Black Light, which is a research performance project studying the dimensionality of Blackness and the ways that we are experiencing that. And that is just, I could talk a lot about that. But yeah, those are my next few things coming up.
That's fabulous. Well, I can't wait for all of those things. And you want to maybe throw out your social media handles so people can follow you?
Sure. It would be Imagine Joy with 2 Y's. So Imagine JOYY on, what's that? Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's my name, Demetrius McClendon.
All right. Well, everybody go follow. And stay tuned for lots more news, and look out for Imagine Joy dancing out in the community and doing activism and just being a general badass, awesome human. And we are so blessed that you were on our show today. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, I will say very quickly, I do be artistically naked on some of those profiles just as okay. Some people, some people feel different ways about the body. We call liberational.
All right. Well, I guess trigger warning.
Disclaimer.
But I think that probably attracted some people rather than
exactly.
I'm just saying, if I know anything about our scorekeepers. All right, well, thank you once again for being here, and we will be right back with Pure Black Joy. We'll be right back. Thank you, Imagine Joy.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, and we are back. Big thanks to Imagine Joy for being with us. And now it is time for our favorite segment. And a 1, and a 2, and a 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat.
That's oh, yes, thank you. Oh, it sounds so good every time.
A treat.
Yes, of course. Yes, it is a treat. PB&J. Pure Black Joy. A little snack for your soul. They'll treat them. Yes. This is the segment where we talk about all of the Black people and places and things and ideas that are making us happy this week. And my poor kitty. She is having a non-Pure Black Joy week because she does not like this cold and she doesn't know what to do with herself, and she just woke up from her nap and she's just angry.
Been there.
Yeah.
But in actual Pure Black Joy, I just want to really just shout out really quick Jonathan Batista, who has made history by becoming the first Black principal dancer at the Pacific Northwest Ballet. Yay for you, Jonathan. He is originally from Rio de Janeiro. Okay. I'm trying to go to Rio.
Yeah.
And became a part of the organization last year as a soloist. He says that having the highest rank as a ballet dancer means a lot for both him and the Black community. He said that
Mhm.
being the first Black dancer in 50 years of Pacific Northwest Ballet is a moment for young Black boys, young Black girls that want to dance, that want to see themselves on stage. It's such an honor to be in this position. It's also a moment where he thinks, wow, it took 50 years for a Black man, a Black person to become a principal dancer. Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely.
Point well
Um,
taken.
yes, absolutely. So, the Pacific Northwest Ballet is based in Seattle. They have a total of 46 dancers, 9 of them, including Jonathan, identify as Black. So everybody go and see Jonathan at the Pacific Northwest Ballet if you're in Seattle. And congratulations to you, Jonathan. That's amazing.
Woohoo!
Yay.
That's what I got. Who's next?
That was lovely. I will share as well, and this is for all of the nerds who may be listening out there. So this semester, the College Board has launched its first ever AP course in African American Studies. And it is debuting at 60 high schools across the country.
I heard
And
about this.
among others, 2 of the contributors to the project are Dr. Henry Louis Gates and Dr. Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham, both amazing scholars. And I think this is really, really fantastic that African American studies is being codified in this way, and kids are actually getting the opportunity at this very critical juncture where it feels like there's such an attack, not just on people of African descent, but also on our culture and our history, that kids are going to have this opportunity to learn it in this way and receive some well-deserved college credit. I would have loved to have taken this course, 25 years ago.
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
But again, finally.
True.
Black people, America's newest invention.
Huh! Wow. it's like a person, but Black. Wow.
Tell me more.
Huh.
Well, my little PB and J, shout out to one. I know about these things because of my little sister. So first, shout out to her for being Black Joy and excellence, because she loves fashion and style, and she keeps me up to date with what Black people are doing in those worlds. I would not know otherwise. I just enjoy the clothes. I just wear them. I don't pay attention to the news. So she was the one who actually told me about this Black designer, Houston White, who is actually from Minneapolis, who now has a collection at Target. That actually I've been seeing everywhere, just going into Target, and didn't know what it was about until my little sister told me. Yes, he is a native of Jackson, Mississippi, and is from Minneapolis, raised here in Minneapolis, and now has a clothing collection at your local Target boutique. Yeah, it's dope. It's quite dope. It's like real cute. It's giving like a little like Black preppy style. I kind of like,
I'm gonna look this up.
Yes, it's definitely giving like hanging out on an HBCU campus to me. Yeah. So I really also just appreciate the highlighting of Black designers.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if we've seen an increase of that recently, or what. Maybe am I imagining that? It feels like it's increasing. That like more
I agree with that.
and more I see. If it's people not having their own brands, and it's like bigger stores or brands having feature collections with designers that they put lots of money in marketing and stuff like that behind. So yeah, shout out to him.
It's very like it's got like a very sort of like 90s vibe, like 90s like college, like I'm feeling it.
Right? Right? Like if School Days met Clueless.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I also think it's really funny that the Target website exhorts you to explore tops, explore bottoms. I thought that was a different website, but no, but this is some cute stuff in here.
Mhm.
Right? Right?
Okay.
I mean, he's really my pure black joy because, like, yes, up and coming designer from Minneapolis, but also they have a collection right now from that designer who did Michelle Obama's outfit for inauguration, the burgundy one.
Oh,
Burgundy outfit.
girl.
That
Yes.
designer,
With the
you know what I'm
cape.
talking about. You
Mhm.
Yes.
you know the
Mhm.
one. He's black and also has a small collection at Target right now.
Ooh,
That
Okay,
okay.
is
Target.
fabulous. It is fabulous.
'Cause
And honestly, when I've walked in, they've been at the front of the store. Like they have been like the first thing you see when you go in.
Because I mean, Michelle Obama was just stunting on
Yeah.
everybody.
Always.
Just came for everybody's neck with that outfit.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Ooh. I was like, how are we supposed to look at anyone else? How are
And
we
she knew it too. She knew it too with those gloves to match.
Mhm.
Mm,
Mm, mm,
mm,
mm.
mm.
A moment.
Absolutely. Well, okay.
Shout out
I'm
to
gonna
that.
have
Actually, I
I'm gonna have to
know.
check this out the next time I need some shampoo.
Check it out. Check it out. It's a dangerous place. And now that I think about it, little Paige really wanted to be a fashion designer. I had a whole period of really wanting this. And no, I did not see this much representation,
Mhm.
especially across the board of like high fashion to footwear to street fashion to everywhere. So shout out to whoever has been working in that industry to make these things happen. You are my pure black joy.
Oh,
Sweet.
thank you.
Little Paige, who was a fashion designer, wanted to be a fashion designer, really appreciates it.
Aw. That's sweet. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of The Score. Want to thank Imagine Joy once again for coming through. Everyone go check them out on all their socials and whatnot. And thank you both, as always, for being here. It's been a long week. and we are recording this much later than we usually do. So might be why we're a little punch drunk today. But as always, it's amazing sharing space with the two of you and with all of you out there in podcast land. As always, we invite you to leave a review on your favorite podcast app of choice, but mostly Apple Podcasts, because that's going to help us out the most. 5 stars, please. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my cat is now upstairs yelling at me. So I'll make this quick. But leave some words too if you'd like to. And of course, subscribe on your favorite podcast app of choice. And what do I always... Oh, and
You
share.
ask us if we have words of wisdom?
Well, I was going to say also share the podcast with anybody you think might be interested. But yes. Do we have any words of wisdom?
Vote.
Yes. Vote.
Yeah.
Register. Check your registration. I mean, I would imagine a lot of the registration deadlines have passed in certain states, but I would just check and make sure.
Yep.
You know what's up, and if you are able to register, and please vote however you can, whether that's getting your absentee ballot in the mail or going down there on election day. It really matters. I can't. The last few elections, all these people are like, elections don't matter. Like, have you been here for the last 6 years? Just look at the last 6 years just alone. Your vote matters. I promise it matters. So yes, please go down there and do that. And I think that's it for us. Yeah, okay. Well, everybody be safe, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
And go touch some grass.